Shalom friends, this is Dr. Erez Toref and welcome to another Pod for Israel. We are still at the NRB 2025 in Dallas, Texas, and it's special for me because I have two friends from Israel. Shalom Mati, Shalom Yair. They are from TBN Israel. So we're neighbors and it's funny kind of to meet in Dallas.
Yeah, it's weird to hear Hebrew here in the United States.
There's actually quite a bit of Hebrew going on
not
here.
at this conference, though.
This year, definitely a lot of Israeli people in support.
At this conference, I've seen more of my neighbors than I do at home.
Yeah, there's a lot of people here.
A lot of people from our area.
And yeah, we have right next to us the Magen David Adom booth, and there's a tourism agency.
Erez, this is good news. The Israelis have discovered that Christians love them.
That's exactly the point.
Took some time, but finally, I think it's a good time that we realize
I think that this war really caused us as Israelis to understand that the only friends we have are the evangelical Christians.
No, we can't survive this alone. I mean, and it's a good thing that we realized who are our friends in this situation.
And I think it's about time that the state of Israel start to respect those friends. And so this is great.
Yeah,
hey,
definitely.
What I wanted to talk about, I think that a lot of our people that love us, they pray for us, they support us, they really care about everything that's going on with us in Israel. And today was a very, very difficult day with, all the hostages and the events surrounding the funerals and so on. But I wanted from people to hear a little more about the experience of Israeli reserve soldiers. And I know that both of you have served for many, many, many days and months in the last year. Both of you were in the Gaza Strip and probably a lot of other places.
I'm in Judea, not in the Gaza Strip.
Judea and Samaria, and you can say a word about that in a second, but you were there, Mati, if it's okay for me to ask you were there more than...
I'm about to hit 300 days of reserves.
300 days?
Yeah, since the war started.
We should go back to be on active military duty,
They pay you more for reserves. They pay you more for reserves. But yeah, so it's been... I think I'm in reserves right now, actually. So
you're an officer, aren't you?
I'm an officer, yeah. As is Yair.
He's a tank platoon commander.
I'm a tank platoon commander that somehow found myself in a light infantry unit. Don't ask me. Don't ask me how.
Very weird situation.
Very bizarre situation. Anyway, but yeah, so I'm pushing 300 days now of reserves, and it's been one of the best experiences of my life and one of the worst experiences of my life at the same time. And myself, Yair included, and many others, were called up on October 7th, a few hours after it started, called into reserves. I only came home, I was in straight for 7.5 months when the war broke out.
This is absolutely crazy. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. Now, just to be clear, that everybody knows, now you have a full-time job with a lot of responsibility and you have a family.
I have a family.
You have 3 children?
3 kids. I have a family. I lead a team of 30-something people. And yeah, at the drop of a hat on October 7th, we left it all behind. I don't think I even talked to work, aside from are you alive and are you well?
Yeah.
Right.
6 to 7 weeks into the war.
Yeah, no, let me share about the experience of that morning. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was Simchat Torah, the Jewish high holiday.
Oh, yeah.
So on the night before, we have a big meal. So we're tired, we're sleeping
Everybody
in.
is sleeping, yeah.
Then you wake up in your house, the sounds of sirens. In the beginning, it was like, okay, sirens is a normal thing in Israel. Not even worth to go to the bomb shelter. Sadly, we were used to Hamas launching rockets at holidays and throughout the years. But this time it was something different. And we started receiving reports of terrorists infiltrating Israel, then hostages being taken into the Gaza Strip, and then slowly more and more, unimaginable things that happened. And you see the atrocities that were committed against Israelis, against civilians, children, women, and the elderly. And I knew that, that's it. I'm going to get called into the IDF.
To pack your bags,
In Israel, from the age of 18, men and women serve 2 years or 3 years. And if you're an officer, then you do close to 5 years. But that's not it. After that, you're still training about maybe 20, 30 days every year as part of your reserve duty, because the IDF, the military of Israel, is based on reserve soldiers. These are people like me, like Mati, that have a job, that have a family, a wife, kids. I don't know, normal day-to-day life. They might be already, overweight, not in shape. It's can be people up till their 40s. Now it's even 50s.
No longer.
Yeah.
Right now, my release date in the IDF website says it's when I'm 51 years old is when I get out of the army.
And,
they-
and by
they
then
re-
they're extended to 60.
You know, I was in the days, I'm 55 now.
Yeah.
They released me when I was, I think, 41 or 42.
That's how old I am now. I'm 41. It used to be when I joined the reserve unit I'm in now, we were just celebrating releasing some of the officers that were the age I am now. Now we're talking
Now
about...
they pushed it 10 years.
They push, now it's without volunteering. Mandatory for officers now. It's pushed back in Judea and Samaria. Not in maneuvering units, all the way into your late 40s or early 50s.
You know, a buddy of mine, talking about reserves, a friend of mine, he's in his early 60s, also an officer in a combat unit,
Yeah.
obviously released a long time. They called him back. They formed an entire division of volunteers.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
is
they
this
serve-
what, with the U.S. Endel?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
I met
Yeah.
I met him
I
in the
received,
Gaza
I received
Strip.
a lot of
Yeah.
invitations to join. I'm old.
Oh, yeah?
I'm old enough to
be part of this
To
unit.
join their battalion. Yeah, no, it's amazing initiatives. But what I think would be very interesting to chat a little bit, if you're willing, is how was it for your families, for your wives, for your children? I mean, how was it for them? How was it for you to reconnect with your children? I mean,
Listen, so let me share this. This I think is the number one challenge that people don't understand about this war. When people ask me, what should I pray about regarding Israel? How can I pray for the peace of Jerusalem? I said, don't pray for the IDF soldiers. Pray for the wives. They are the true heroes. I mean, staying at home with 3 kids. I had my youngest, he was 3 months old on October 7th. And I left here with all the kids, put on my boots and my uniform, went to the Lebanon border, then to the Gaza Strip.
now you were wounded in Gaza.
Yes, I was wounded later at the end of my time in the Gaza Strip in my knee. But imagine the stress on a wife that is not only the only like provider taking care of the kids, she's also needs to protect them because if I don't know if you guys
Sirens.
know sirens, terrorists. Israel is super small. You have we are neighboring our community neighbors. Palestinian
West
villages.
Bank.
There's like a little fence 500 meters away from us. What's the difference between that and the Gaza
Oh, yeah.
Strip? Can't they just charge and enter? So listen, she's been to a really, really tough time. She barricaded the house. She locked the doors. She put hairspray and a lighter so that she'll have flamethrowers to protect the kids in the house. No, I'm not joking even. And then we have she has knives in locations, and that's how she dealt with this in the first few months.
Very resourceful. No, seriously, it's amazing.
So definitely
And she
they
has
deserve.
to be strong for the kids.
Yeah.
And worry about you being
Exactly,
away.
exactly. And then every day you have a soldier and a half or something like that is passing away in this war.
Oh, yeah.
Still.
Oh, yeah.
This is the statistics. We have above 800 soldiers that passed away and tens of
Killed
thousands.
in action, not passed away. Killed in action.
Killed in action by the terrorists.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and on top of that you have 15,000 wounded soldiers. Then wounded, some of them don't have legs. I mean, it's okay. So I had an injury in my knee. I'm rehabilitating now. Hopefully I'll get back to full mobility. But it's something that affects the whole nation of Israel.
I think there's another important part here, which is that people might not know that reserves is actually voluntary. People think, oh, you were called into reserves.
Yeah, you don't
no one
have to.
no one in the Israeli army serves if they don't want to serve.
Yeah.
That's a reality.
You can find a way out very easy.
If you really don't want to serve, you're not going to be in a reserves unit.
Oh, and let me say something interesting that I learned now. So I'm considered by the Ministry of Defense of Israel handicapped.
Right.
But by the IDF, I'm still being called to fight.
yeah.
And then I called the IDF and I said, listen, you know that I'm considered handicapped by the Ministry of Defense because of getting wounded in this war. I said, yes, you know, we are a miraculous nation. Our cripples are still fighting to defend the country.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of them. So to your point, everyone who's in reserves, definitely today, they're there because they choose to defend their country. And that's good, but it also creates a huge amount of tension in the house. Yeah. And then there's another big part, which I think people miss, which is what we call the home front command in Israel, which is the families, the people that are left behind. They're as combative and as supportive of people in the country as the soldiers are. And especially when the family has faith. And I think that's the big difference. And I've seen this, I commanded during the war, I don't know how many people it was, let's say hundreds of people at a certain point. And the people with the interchants, a lot of people, The ones who have the support from the home, they can keep fighting indefinitely.
Right.
And the one where the soldiers,
Where the home is collapsing.
Yeah.
where-
No,
yeah,
definitely.
and we release them.
Of course.
We'd send them home.
Oh, yeah.
I at a certain point, I said, 7.5 months in, look, like our unit was mostly released, and I need some time at home. I was having, trouble at home. I was having work issues. You have to go home to a certain degree. I had a soldier. I think this is a very interesting story. Maybe 2 months into the war, he had a newborn at the house. He had a child with special needs. Anyway, it was a complicated home situation.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
it's good.
maybe his wife
It's
was
good.
unhealthy, and the guy's like a social worker in like his day job. Very sensitive, like very like demure person.
Caring, yeah.
And it was heavy on him. Look, my wife's having a terrible time. Maybe I can be released. Maybe I can go home for a while. Comes back a day or two later. He says, never mind. So what happened? He said, I called my wife and she started screaming at me. And she says to him, you won't dare come home while your brothers are fighting. I don't care what you do, and I don't care what you feel. You don't dare come home while your brothers are fighting.
That's awesome.
So it just shows you how powerful the belief is of the people at home in the goal and the purpose of what
Yeah.
people are doing.
Yeah.
And that's really the miracle here.
No, it is, and I think that's very illustrative. Now, can I ask about your children? I mean, feel free to share just a little
yeah.
bit. How was it to reconnect with them? I mean, you had a 3-month-old baby.
Yeah. So it was very tough, because every time I would come home for 48 hours, you have this
Right,
little breaks to see the family, and then you go back to the base or to Gaza or to wherever. And the goodbye was the hardest part for me, especially with she was then like 5 years old, because she already
Oh, yeah?
understood,
Oh,
and
yeah?
she would
Oh,
like hug me and said, Daddy, don't go, don't leave me, don't go to the army, and would hug me and would not let me go. It was like super, super, heartbreaking. And I think that this is something that the whole connection with the family is part of the enemy's attack against Israel in this fight, because this is a spiritual war, 100% spiritual war. And the enemy is trying to attack the closest family cell. So if he can break the husband and the wife, then he can win this war, because you have no more, a fight in you if this is what's happening. And the percentage of IDF reserve soldiers that got divorced in this war rose significantly. I mean, a lot of soldiers that I've been, in my unit, the families broke up because of this war. And it's very hard. And this is something that also we should, focus and pray on in this situation.
Absolutely.
And but also now, I came here to NRB, okay? And again, the same like fear of leaving me from my girl. Don't leave,
Abandonment.
Yeah, exactly. And also the wife. It's like it's all the with all the understanding. And my wife went to the army and was a tank hammer instructor for fighters, but
Still,
it's
she's
No, but
a
your wife
She's
is
a
also
wife.
a tough cookie.
yeah.
no,
She's
she
a redhead.
really
She's
is.
a redhead, yeah.
She really is.
Now, your kids are a little older.
I think it was harder for them.
Early
I think
teenagers,
for
right?
him it was
For my
even
kids, it
more.
was a lot harder because they understood what was happening. I have a 13-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and the older ones knew what was happening in the war. Even if we didn't give them access, they saw what happened on October 7th.
Oh, they're talking in school.
They talk amongst their
yeah.
friends. They understood the rockets. Like it's much more clear of a picture to them. And it was terribly traumatic for them. They were afraid for themselves in the beginning because, there were rocket intercepts above our house. You live nearby
Oh, yeah.
for weeks in the beginning of the war. And then they're without their father, so that was terrifying in itself. But they were constantly concerned for my safety. And I would try to explain to them, look, it's not that dangerous where I am. Thank God almost that I'm not inside Gaza. I'm in Judea and Samaria. It's an area I'm familiar with. You're familiar with it. And it didn't really help. My youngest son, to this day, it's been, almost a year and a half. He's 9 years old. His biggest concern in life is Abba, Daddy is going to reserves. I say, I need to sit you down to talk about something. The first question he asks is,
Are you going back?
Are you going back to is the army calling you back? That's the first thing he asks. And I'll say this, I went through a divorce during the war, not necessarily directly connected to it. The reserves part of it was more traumatic to my kids than their parents separating. That's how traumatic it is. And they still to this day. So, this time I went back, I had to prep them weeks in advance to reserves. And I explained, look, I'm doing a role that's much less dangerous this time. You visited me, you know where it is. Still, it's very heavy for them.
Oh.
And you have to,
Understandably so. I mean,
yeah. I think there's a very two-dimensional perception of Israeli society outside of Israel. and they visualize us as, you know, these like superhuman,
Right.
you know, brave soldiers and the brave women and the brave Jews and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah.
that. And that's true, but we feel pain,
And there's a great price to pay.
huge price to pay.
And I think that, you know, the longer this war continues, the harder it is.
Yeah,
Because, okay,
absolutely.
so in the beginning,
Swearing
first
on
month,
you.
it was fighting for survival, you know, it was like everybody united together. But, you know, life continues despite this war.
Remember what it was like a month ago? There was one of the last rocket attacks from the Houthis in Yemen.
Yeah.
And,
It's like,
and I realized my 13-year-old, you know, she's quite a smart girl, but she cries out in like exasperation, why are the Lebanese attacking us again? And they had to correct her, no, it's not the Lebanese this
Houthis.
time, it's
The
the
Houthi.
Houthis. And then she looks at me with this like blank stare, it's like, and I had to like open a map and explain to the kids, these kids from their perspective, they look at it and say, why are these people so far away from us? Why are they attacking us?
That's a great question.
And the only answer is, guys, this is all spiritual. They're
Yeah,
the enemies of what God is trying to do in this country. And I'm not saying this for the sake of, let's call it a Christian viewership. There is no other explanation to give the kids.
I think it's also, you know, secular Israelis, Orthodox understand that this is a spiritual war because it just doesn't make any other sense. You know, I just want to share another story about, you know, the effects on the kids. So my daughter had this assignment to write like a blessing to her father for the next year, what she wishes him. And my wife shared it with me and it was sad and funny. You know what she wrote for me? That daddy will get the best military equipment to defeat the bad guys in this war. It's like, this is like the wish of a 6-year-old.
One of my
Yeah.
sisters, one of my soldiers got a note from one of my brother's daughters.
Really? Oh, really?
Yeah, and he says, Shoshani, is this Shoshani Tzuradasa? Is this related to you? I said, show me the note. It was
It's your nephew. Oh, wow.
beautiful.
Well, I think he
Wow.
has like 1 million siblings,
Yeah,
so
we're
you know,
big-
it
we're
makes
big
sense that
family.
somebody will
It's a
send
lot,
something.
yeah.
One of my
Yeah. Well, you know, I told you earlier, and this is something I want to share also very clearly with you, our viewers and those that listen to us, that One for Israel has created what we call the Israel Family Fund. And the purpose of this fund is to help families that the dad, mostly sometimes the mom, were on reserves for many, many days and months to simply go on vacation and reconnect. And now you guys, we chatted about this earlier, and you said that you had this opportunity. It was very special for the family, and this is something we still do. So.
You know, by the way, you guys helped us with military equipment back in
Right.
the
was a
spring
long time
of
ago.
23.
No, but definitely, I think that now the IDF has all the gear it needs. The soldiers have boots, socks, like the best weapons, the best guns. But what we need is family time outside of Israel. You need to understand that being in Israel, you feel the pressure. I'm here in Texas.
You're in the pressure.
I feel like
It's a little- yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
like a million ton
The
on my
pressure
head
goes
now.
down.
Right.
You know,
It's difficult to explain. I
So if
agree.
you want to reconnect with your family, spend some time with the kids, you need to be outside of Israel with at least a week of no rocket attacks, no running to the bomb shelters, no news.
One of our people that went on vacation like that, actually a friend, one of our employees, and she told me, she went with her husband, she told me that their son, I think 9-year-old, when they came to this other country for vacation, the first question he asked when they get to the hotel is, where's the safe room? And they tell him,
We don't need one.
there's no safe room because they're not shooting rockets in this country. And he's like, really? Wow, mom and dad, thank you for bringing me to a country that there's no rockets. This is so awesome. I mean, it warms your heart, but breaks your heart, right? I mean, so yeah.
I don't know. Yes, but and going back to like the biblical root of it, in the end, when you think about this whole thing, we forgot, and I'm not saying other people.
Oh, no,
I
as a
forgot.
nation.
I forgot.
I think
and
as
we
a
did
nation.
it. We did as a nation. We forgot that promise comes with sacrifice. We really forgot, and we believed that we could have everything that God promised without
And
paying
live the good
anything for
life.
it.
Yep.
And just live a comfortable and good life. And I was caught up in that. And it was a reminder that I'm never planning to forget. I think everyone in this country, in Israel, is never going to forget.
Hope
That-
so.
Being brought back to the pioneer mindset of you must sacrifice for what God gives you. And the kids, it's painful to say, but the kids understand the same idea. They understand that they have to sacrifice for what God gives us. And it comes with a pain, but that's how promise works.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, Mati, Yair, thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you,
so great
Enes.
to chat, and what a pleasure to kind of hang around here a little bit.
Definitely.
So, everyone, I hope this was edifying and that there was something new and fresh and really just gives you a perspective onto what Israelis are going through. So thank you. May God bless you. Shalom.